Welcome back to The Gray Area, an informal podcast that is just a couple dudes having a conversation.
As a reminder, nothing we say is intended to offend anyone, but we do welcome your input in the comments below. Oh, today we have a dilemma. The situation goes like this.
Tom's 8-year-old daughter comes to him one day in tears, claiming that the neighbor raped her.
In the court trial, there was not enough evidence to convict. The neighbor, Jared, goes free.
A few months later, Tom is out eating with his family when he sees Jared eating at another table. Feeling obvious resentment, he asks to be sat on the other side of the restaurant.
Later, on the news, Tom sees that Jared is being convicted of his wife's murder. Tom knows for a fact that Jared could not have been the murderer since he saw him eating dinner during the time of that murder.
Should he go to the authorities with Jared's alibi, or should he let Jared be convicted as a murderer as penance for his suspected raping of his daughter?
So I guess this is one where we're playing the judge and jury.
Sort of.
Because we're, it's judging whether or not you serve justice, because Jared obviously didn't murder his wife.
Yeah, he couldn't have.
I mean, he could have paid someone to do it.
He certainly...
But-
that is a possibility.
But he didn't do it himself.
Yeah.
He didn't perform the act of
Murder.
So, I mean, yes, if you don't go to the authorities, that's not real justice to Jared. But is it justice for
the Tom's family?
For Tom's family.
Yeah, I would say... Well, I don't know what the difference between a murder sentence and a raping sentence, a child raping sentence is. I would assume...
They're both severe.
They're both very severe. I guess regardless of the situation, you're going to jail for a long time.
Yes.
So, I mean... It's not... I wouldn't say it's injustice for Tom's family. I mean, the person who raped his daughter, supposedly, is, now in jail, which is great. He's in jail for the wrong reasons, but he's still in jail. He's still going to be, serving his time. But that also means that the murderer is still out there.
Exactly.
Unless it was a hitman,
Right. So, I mean, I think that this, it weighs a little differently with me whether Jared, because if Jared, this is still supposedly, if Jared supposedly raped this little child, then who knows, maybe he is capable of getting in touch with someone to kill his wife.
Very possible.
And, if they find that link, because Jared's trying to lessen his sentence, because I know people do that.
Yeah.
Then you get both the murderer and he's in jail.
That is true.
But if Jared did absolutely nothing and was completely 100% faithful to his wife, then loved his wife. Let's go with that.
Let's love.
Then you're putting him in jail for something he didn't do,
which is true.
I would say that that is injustice.
I'd say it's injustice for Jared. Yeah.
I think that it is not injustice or justice for Tom, because really he had no intervention in the crime that's being suspected.
That's true.
Other than the fact that he could have,
if he so chooses,
if he so chooses, he could report that it couldn't have been Jared. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that we've said a couple times, and I feel like we should properly address, is the fact that it's all allegedly, because if there wasn't enough to convict
Jared
of the rape, then it calls everything into question. Like,
it certainly could, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that something the neighbor did put off this little girl that is kind of like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But children in general have a very overactive imagination,
which is true.
So it could have been, not that it's any less disgusting, but it could have been maybe more of a molestation case. which is no,
it's
don't get me
not
wrong,
better.
still gross.
It's
Don't do that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think it would have influenced the court case if there was definitive proof.
I guess so. I mean, I think regardless of the sexual assault act, it's still horrible. Like you said, it is just horrible either way, and you should never do that to anybody, let alone a child.
Yeah.
So that child's gonna have, most likely is gonna have some problems, some trauma later on in life if that was a big deal. But you know what? Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. I mean, if Jared goes to jail,
Yeah.
it's injustice for the fact that, you know, the murderer is still out there. Granted, he didn't hire a hitman. And if, you know, he doesn't go to jail, then it's... I wouldn't say it's not injustice. I guess I'll change my mind. It's not injustice for Tom's family, and it's not justice for Jared, per se. But it's just... it's...
I understand Tom's whole thinking of like, oh, I'll get him back for what he did to my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I get that.
But it's not like if the court case failed in the past, then
There clearly was a reason why it failed.
yeah,
And, I mean, you know, shout out to the investigators, you know, like, I'm sure they do a good job.
Good job,
you know.
especially if it's concerning a child.
Yeah, I know that the court system weighs in favor of the child.
Yeah.
Way more often than not. But it could be that it was a misunderstanding or a manufactured by the child.
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been cases where children have done maybe not things as bad as this, but they have made things up that cause serious problems
For a certain person.
for adults or for other people, and so it, you know, it's allegedly because Tom didn't see his daughter getting raped.
Yeah. He doesn't know. And this is the big problem with sexual assault acts, is that a lot of the time
There's no evidence.
there's just none or not enough.
It's word against word.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of hard as it is just to decipher or to understand who's at fault at this point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I wouldn't say there's any real justice of... I mean, I wouldn't say Tom should obviously go and to the police with Jared's alibi. I'm not saying that he shouldn't.
Well, I don't know. I feel like as far as Tom goes, I think that he needs to practice what he preaches. If he truly believes that his daughter was raped by Jared, he wants Jared to be served justice. So, if that's what he's about, getting justice,
Yeah.
he should go in with the alibi, because that is Jared's true justice.
Yeah, unless he would be, yeah.
And
if he
then,
didn't, he would be a
if
hypocrite.
it's still, if, you know, you find something out in, you know, freeing him because he's like, oh, thank you, you know, and then, you know, who knows? You could find something out about the failed court case before.
Past. Or you could find out that, yeah, it was...
You know, so then you could reappeal. But
also, if, you know, he did assault Tom's daughter,
yeah,
who's to say he didn't assault more children? If that's that's
okay,
his thing,
but if they're okay,
you know,
that's fair. But if they're calling into question one accusation,
yeah,
they're going to examine everything.
Exactly.
And if there was more children that had talked to their parents, and then their parents hear, oh, this guy's getting accused of this, they'll be like, oh yeah, hey,
we gotta do something.
So if there was more kids that he's
touched. Okay, well then.
then yeah, but they would have found that. And if there was other children that he had done inappropriate things to, then I feel like the evidence would weigh more heavily in favor of Tom's daughter. So he would have been convicted.
That's true. But I mean, yeah, that is if he was caught with it, because if somehow he avoided the to be convicted when he touched Tom's daughter, he might have been saw that as like a warning, or like he's testing the waters. I'd say he could have been testing. Regardless, Tom should have.
But then it could have been a one-time thing.
It could have very well been a one-time thing.
I mean, I don't know too much about the mind of these people who decide that their best interest in life is to diddle children, but it could have been a one-time slip. See, this is where the other thing comes into question, because if he hasn't done this to any other children definitively, then this is probably why the court case didn't favor the child, because it's like this is the first and only time
that he did it.
This is being brought to our attention. There's no witness, there's no evidence to support the child. I'm not feeling it. So for all we know, Jared could be completely innocent.
He could have.
Jared could have not touched the kid and
never murdered
or hired a murderer.
He obviously didn't murder the wife.
Yeah,
but yeah,
he could be completely innocent, and Tom could just be over obsessive with Jared.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when your daughter comes crying to you in tears, it's like, oh well, that's kind of. Yikes. And then when they pull out like, oh, somebody so and so touched me, that's like, okay, whoa, time to do something. It's because it's your own daughter, not just some little kid. But yeah, I'd say if Jared was completely innocent and Tom, like, out of everything, and Tom just didn't decide to go with his alibi, then... See,
that's the other thing. And assuming Jared is completely innocent, it doesn't matter whether or not Tom went in with the alibi.
Yeah.
So Tom could be like, haha, he'll be convicted, but then he doesn't get convicted. So then Tom is just sat there thinking, well now what?
Exactly.
So
he doesn't...
But I feel like with Tom knowing Jared's alibi, and him being involved in a court case with Tom already, the court system might ask him. They might bring him in and be like, hey...
Especially if he's still his neighbor.
Yeah.
And especially if...
I mean,
they're going to ask him, where were you at this time anyways?
Yeah, because if you're the neighbor, you could just have easily have murdered Jared's wife.
That is...
For whatever reason. Maybe she made really terrible casserole.
And she kept giving it to you.
Yeah, it's just like here. Okay. All right.
I didn't ask.
Look.
Yeah.
I don't want your casserole, Debbie.
Debbie and Jared, yeah.
But, so yeah, they're going to call you in anyways. But, even if you did give an alibi, they might question your testimony because you've accused him of something else.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of factors to this one where it's like you got to take the time and slowly go through the evidence. If we were in the court system, but we're looking from an ethical standpoint.
If I was Tom, in this situation, my daughter, like if my daughter came to me crying in tears and said so and so raped me, first of all, it's not you don't really go around saying that when you're a kid. Like, oh, I just got raped. It's not like...
I don't think if you're any age, you go around saying that casually, just like, oh, yeah. Just casually.
But especially not when you're a kid.
Yeah.
So, like, I would probably be on my daughter's side 100%. So, if Tom or Jared was going to get arrested and I had heard of this, granted, if I wasn't, already talked to by policemen, I'd probably let it slip because there was probably other people in the restaurant
Who saw him?
who saw him. Who he has an alibi. I mean, if they came up to me and said, "Hey, blah blah, where were you at lunchtime or dinner time on Monday or whenever?" Then I would say, yeah, I was eating dinner. Did you see anybody? I guess I would.
Would you tell them the truth? If they asked you directly, did you see Jared in this restaurant?
Well, now that I got to think about it, if I don't say yes, and because Jared is obviously innocent of at least
Performing the act of murder.
performing the act of murder, that could mean there's murder in the neighborhood, which then puts me in a dangerous position. So I guess I would come clean, because it's just
You would say yes?
I would say yeah.
Yes, I saw him.
I saw Jared. Doesn't mean he's innocent.
Well, the other thing is, if you lie to them, then you're in trouble
Then-
because you lied on an official statement.
And that is true. But again, if they didn't specifically search for the neighbor and question the neighbor, being Tom or me or whatever, then yeah, I in Tom's position, I probably wouldn't seek out.
You wouldn't go in with the information, but
Yeah.
if they came to you and said, "Did this happen?" you'd say
Like,
yes.
yeah, well, yeah, hell yeah.
I personally, I'm a great believer in the higher justice.
Mm.
So I personally,
Mm.
if I was in Tom's position, I would go in with the evidence or his alibi that he was. I would seek out a way to give that to the police.
Would your idea change, or opinion or whatever change, if it was like concrete evidence your daughter was raped by Jared,
Okay,
but
well,
the court system failed to do it because reasons,
well, if it was concrete evidence,
like concrete evidence?
I would go in, say, "Hey,
Yeah.
yes, he was eating lunch here. There's no way he could have murdered
Mhm.
his wife. You need to look for somebody else." But then I would put in a resubmission of my rape case.
Okay.
Because if I have concrete evidence, irrefutable evidence.
Okay. Let's say the evidence has passed. Whatever the reason, say, I don't know, DNA samples no longer present in the situation. So you no longer have the evidence, but it was absolutely obvious. And the case just
So
bounced.
you had the evidence. They took it for examination.
100% that Jared raped your daughter. But the court's just yeah, we can't. Doesn't work out. You still go for it. You still go
I
to
would
the police
still
station.
give him his alibi. I believe personally that he will suffer his penance in a different manner,
Okay.
because if he didn't murder his wife, then he shouldn't be punished for that.
Of course.
Is what I think.
Yeah.
If he 100% you know
Mm-hmm.
that he raped your daughter,
Yeah.
then he will have. Okay, even if you're convicted or accused, sorry, if you're accused of being a child rapist,
Yeah.
your life is not very happy anymore.
Yeah. Probably not.
With anyone.
Definitely not his wife.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he did, but
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like he will have suffered his penance,
In
or
another
will
form.
suffer his penance in another way.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I don't have a daughter, so
Of
I don't.
course.
I'm only
neither.
speculating, right? So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe if I did actually have a child,
Mm.
then my thoughts would change, and I'm sure that they would shift because, from a father's standpoint,
Yeah. That's your.
that is your offspring.
That is your pride and joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just got violated by a
Jared.
dude named Jared.
Your neighbor Jared,
Yeah.
who, apart from that situation, seemed like a dude, just a Jared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think we should consider
Mm.
is let's assume that Jared influenced the murder of his wife.
Okay, so he
did
sent a
influence.
hitman or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
In some way.
But Tom does go in with the alibi.
Okay.
So he says, no,
Jared was
Jared was definitely eating lunch here at this time.
Yeah.
Do you think that the police would have a harder time finding this hitman or this murderer that was associated with Jared because Tom intervened
Instead, it wasn't Jared.
instead of just, remaining quiet? Because if they're heavily investigating Jared, and then this Tom shows up and he's just like, hey, no, he's good. He was eating here.
I feel like it, depending on how well the police investigate, it very well could just, influence it so that he was definitely eating lunch. Doesn't immediately take him off the suspect list. Because, again, what's your relationship with your wife? It's all depending on other means. And if they could, find out the guy's name from Jared. But if, you came up, you said he's clean, I think it would... If he wasn't in the position prior to be able to defend himself, I feel like he would have better footing.
Do you think that Tom would be impeding the investigation then? Because
I wouldn't say so, because he is being honest. That is true.
That is true.
The murderer is still out there.
It's
just not Jared.
Okay.
He didn't commit the act at least.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think it would... I mean, I would hope it wouldn't, completely mess up the case. Because if a murderer having a potential murderer having a proper alibi is a problem in a specific case, and good luck trying to catch that murderer.
Yeah.
Because, if that was your one, standing leg and then they just kicked it out, well, you're sort of boned in that in any case.
Yeah. I think that Tom, feeling his resentment towards Jared, I think that if it led him to say nothing, then Jared was convicted. Okay, so let's theorize this here.
Yeah.
Tom says nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jared gets convicted of the murder.
Okay.
They rule, and he gets life.
Okay.
Well, let's lowball it and say 30 years.
I think that's 30 years.
Okay, so let's say for whatever reason, I don't know the court system well enough. He gets 30 years.
Quite a bit of time, but
that is a lot of time.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So Jared goes to jail.
Okay.
For 30 years. On his 29th year, they find concrete, irrefutable evidence that he did not do it. Do you think Tom would feel guilty
for not
intervening and him going to jail?
Honestly, I don't think so, because it is 29 years later. I think he might feel bad in a way, but again, during those 29 years of not having to deal with Jared, where, at the last year when he's like, oh, he's innocent, it might make you think, well, he did potentially, or he definitely did touch my daughter or assault my daughter. So it's like, well, I don't know how that weighs.
Yeah.
I guess it really depends on the person, because if he was super hating on Jared because of what he did to his daughter, then, when he gets released, he'd be like, oh, whatever. Or maybe he might even feel more hatred towards Jared. He's like, oh, you should have stayed longer, you child rapist, you whatever. But at the same time, if the murderer was never caught because of Jared being convicted,
yeah,
and then they find out that it wasn't Jared, I guess I might feel bad. I probably would feel bad, because it's a life. That's 30 years in jail.
30 years
that you've spent. That's a half a life, basically.
Yeah. But
And
then, okay, let's say they caught the murder on the 29th year. That's why Jared was released.
that's why he was released. Ooh, I would not want to talk to Jared.
I feel like Jared would be very unhappy with Tom. But how would he know?
Unless Jared obviously saw Tom in the
Yeah, they were just like
restaurant.
eye
Locked eyes.
contact.
Shoot. Just high shading his eyes. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, on time to go.
Get the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, let's rewind then.
Okay.
Let's rewind to right before Tom does or does not choose to influence this.
Mm.
Let's say that Jared, with his wife,
Yeah.
has 2 children.
Oh, Jared himself has children.
Yeah, what if Jared has children?
Okay.
And if you let Jared be convicted, both those children go to foster care.
Oh yeah, because
the wife's
wife's
dead.
gone now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I mean, they could be adopted by family,
yeah,
maybe,
which is true. But at the same time,
but if they go through foster care, you just
that's
you
horrible.
basically messed up his life and the life of his 2 children because of something he may or may not have done to your daughter.
But that being said, like, say if it was still, you know, a possibility that he did do this to my daughter,
Yeah.
I would feel uncomfortable. You know, him having children.
Yes.
That just would make me feel uncomfortable if he had touched my child. And if it was a possibility, then I wouldn't really.
So yeah, okay. Let's say
feel
there's
that
no
bad.
concrete evidence that he touched your daughter, right? So original status with that.
Okay.
There's no hard evidence. The court didn't convict him beforehand, and the children,
Yeah.
from what you can tell, obviously you're not living in their house.
Of
but
course. But
from
they
what you can
seem-
tell, they're fine.
Okay.
They're happy. They're kids.
They're
kids being kids. They're unaffected by, because I mean, obviously, if your daughter's claiming she's been assaulted, that changes a child.
It
dramatically.
Very much so. It's
But as far as you can tell from these other children, they're fine.
they're normal. Yeah, I mean, I think that would change my attitude towards, or Tom's attitude towards, you know, giving in the alibi, because now, you know, Jared has kids to take care of.
Yep. And he is now also the sole provider for them.
Yeah, so I think that would change it, because you know you have a daughter. Tom has a daughter himself, so he would probably feel he'd want to help Jared. But if it was in the other situation where you 100% knew that Jared touched your child, I would.
Well, of course, then it calls into question as soon as you put in the original accusation,
Yeah.
like, hey, Jared diddled my kid, then immediately those children are taken off of his custody and put in custody of the wife
That is true. Yeah.
until such a time
Where
that the court has resolved it. So if he's not convicted from that earlier,
then he would be.
then you know for a fact, most likely,
That
because they watch you.
Oh, of course, yeah. If you diddled somebody, a kid especially,
And you have kids of your own,
then you're gonna be
then they will be watching you closely.
24/7. Yeah.
So if he's not convicted then even
guess.
if he's not, you know, if he's convicted of diddling his own kids but not yours, well, of course, then that's, you know, he's convicted. But if he's not convicted of touching his own kids, then that also weighs in favor of Jared.
Yeah, that does indeed. Yeah. Okay, what if it was not Tom's daughter that came up to him, but Jared's daughter, let's say.
Okay, so Jared's daughter comes to Tom.
Comes to Tom.
It says,
Because I guess they're good neighbors, you know.
Good
they're,
neighbors.
They're chill dudes.
they're
And then,
close.
you know,
Yeah.
maybe she feels like he's the only out one. So he goes up to Tom and, you know, says, oh, yeah, Jared just did something to me.
Yeah.
And it's still in the air. Like, it's possible, but you don't know. It's not your child. You can't
It's
really,
not your child.
You can't really look into it too heavily, so it's still a possibility. Do you think that would change anybody's attitude towards giving an alibi? Like, if it was, you know, up
Okay.
until Tom's wife's murder, the kid was in Tom's,
Jared's care.
Jared's care.
So, okay. So, I guess in the original case, because the first one, where Jared was not convicted...
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that child is more likely to manufacture it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not...
Because it's their verse... Okay, Tom's daughter is not related to Jared. They might be close friends.
Yeah.
But if she comes to you with, hey, this happened, then... Personally, I feel like it would be less likely to be manufactured than if it was his own daughter, if it was Jared's daughter.
Okay, yeah.
Because Jared's daughter's living with Jared and has to deal with him being a Jared.
All the time,
So who knows? Maybe he's only giving them mac and cheese for lunch. She doesn't like mac and cheese. She wants to be a vegan.
She is vegan. She's 8 years old, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, something ridiculous like that.
Okay.
Or...
She's just not like... She's not happy
She's
with
not
her
happy
current...
with her situation.
Yeah, so she...
I feel like it'd be more likely for a child in that position to manufacture it.
Of course.
Which, again, he wouldn't get convicted.
No.
And then, if it is proven that it was manufactured, I think Tom is 100% likely to give Jared's alibi.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Because...
But if...
It's just a kid.
But if it wasn't proven that it was manufactured, then... I don't think Tom's attitude would change all that much. Because if they're close enough that Jared's daughter feels comfortable coming to Tom about it, then... I don't know. Because then Tom has almost a sense of responsibility. He's like, I know this happened.
Yeah.
To his daughter. I want to protect her as an extension, you know?
Yeah, because you're close.
You gotta serve up some hot, steamy justice here.
And then when someone says, and then the police say that Jared's the murderer of his own wife, I feel like, I'm with you. I don't think it would change much.
I don't think Tom's attitude would change much.
You would think,
of course, it really depends on what kind of person Tom is, whether or not he goes in with the alibi.
Yeah, that is true.
Personally, if we use the scenario where it's Jared's daughter,
okay,
my personal opinion wouldn't change. I'd still go in, same as I would with if it was my own daughter.
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely go in if it was Jared's daughter and be like, hey, well, his wife's dead now. Someone's got to look after him. And if I didn't know for a fact that something bad happened, then it's not my family. I can't really decide.
She came to you.
She did.
And if you let him be convicted, so let's say Jared's daughter comes to you, right? Proceeds as usual.
Yeah. And
then Tom doesn't go in for the alibi. Doesn't say anything.
Okay.
Jared is convicted of murder, sent to prison.
Yeah, and then...
That child who trusted in you or trusted in Tom to save her from this guy, now Tom's letting her get foisted off to goodness knows where. For whatever... Maybe he can't adopt her for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So...
It could be a bad situation. It could be better, depending on where
of course,
they end up. But yeah, that is... Yeah, it's...
So is he really protecting the child?
I guess it really would depend on the situation she was living in prior.
So let's assume that Jared only did it one time.
Okay.
One time, well, not years, I guess months, because it's months and then convicted of murder. So he did it one time, months ago.
Yeah.
And, perhaps he's changed.
Perhaps he went to counseling for it.
Yeah.
That is a valid point. If he did it one time, long ago, doesn't change the fact that he had done it.
This is true.
At least it's not a repetitive thing.
True. But if he did it one time, and then proceeds to continue caring, loving, taking care of, being a great father.
Yeah.
And then he's convicted of this wrongly.
Yeah.
Are you saving that child? From what? From what are you saving them from? A past that's not reoccurring?
Which is true. I mean, yeah, I guess you might save them from some trauma if they aren't still accepting or being able to move past or grow from what happened. I wouldn't say grow, but be able to handle what happened.
Accept, dismiss, just sweep it under the rug kind of thing.
Yeah, so if he was just a great dad apart from like one time or one day or 1 week or a part of his life he was just being a dick, right? Then I don't think... I guess you wouldn't be...
I think Tom should
hindering.
go...
Yeah, Tom should definitely...
Okay, but so let's summarize this then. Going back to the original
one where
dilemma.
it's Tom's daughter. Potentially,
we don't do or do not know.
Mm-hmm.
Given the possible other scenarios that could happen.
Yeah.
Because this is all the information we have.
This is indeed.
This is all the information Tom has.
So Tom's daughter might have...
If you were in Tom's shoes, what would you do? Would you go in?
I don't know if I would go out of my way to go. I mean, if it was a big investigation, right? Then obviously I'm going to get questioned.
Yeah.
And I'd tell them. And I guess if it wasn't like it seems like they're going to catch the proper murderer, I guess I'd just go in. That's the long and short of I would just go in.
You would go in? You'd go out of your way and tell them?
I mean, eventually they're going to question me. Assuming Tom doesn't get questioned, I would still go in, yeah. Because, I mean...
I would do the same. Because knowing how many different things could have happened...
Yeah, it could.
I feel like the best thing in life, I guess, in general...
In everybody's best interest.
Is to speak truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Especially because there could be a potential murderer in your neighborhood.
There could be, or it could be Jared.
It could have been, but we
know he was here at this time.
So
we don't know if he zipped out of there hot quick,
and then
we don't know if he hired someone else.
We don't know how.
It could have been a random failed burglary.
Yeah,
we don't know. So I feel like in this situation, the best thing
is to go
for Tom to do is to go and speak the truth, even if he's still convinced that Jared raped his daughter.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think Tom should still go in.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for listening to The Gray Area.
Feel free to share your thoughts and input with us in the comments below.
When the answer isn't black or white, it's the gray area.